Jared, you're so sleek. Mikey and Jared, they're making beats.
Hello and welcome. This is week 6 of Slick Picks. We're talking about week 5 in the NFL. And we have our intern, the one and only, the very studious, the very hardworking, the very bright, the second best son in his family, Jack Slattery, with us this week.
I'll take it. I'll take second best. Thanks for having me back on. Last time I was on, I went 3 for 3, so I'm looking to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of 3 for 3, I was 1 yard away from it until Patrick Mahomes decided to slide on the 1 yard line, ruining my potential 3-0 week. But I'm not even stressed because last week I was saying I think I have a feel for the league now. I think I understand who's good, who's not, and how to bet the league. And I think 2-1 shows that I'm on the right track. And I think we're going to continue that this week. Jared, how did you do?
Proud of you and your endeavors, Mikey.
Thank you.
I also did pretty well last week. Went 2-1. I think I only missed on my 1-point play. But yeah, September is about feeling it out. And it came out of September pretty well. I'm above 500. I don't know how much, but I feel like I understand the league as well. Looking forward to this slate of games and making our listeners some money.
I mean, that's what it's all about. The cash. Speaking of cash, I figured we should go over my prop for this week. And of course, I lost the notes for my prop. So we're going to stall for 30 seconds. And while we do that, we're going to talk about my little trip to the Bills game. Jared, I have some questions. Have you been to Wingnuts in Buffalo?
I haven't, but it's top of my list on places I haven't been to go.
I am a bit of a foodie. I think it's kind of a clowny term, but I would say I'm a bit of a foodie. That was the best wing I've ever had in my life. And it wasn't even particularly close.
Have you sampled the other wings in
so
the Buffalo
I
area?
also went to Bar Bill. And I'm going to be honest, I was with a friend who brought me there, Nick Pachonsky, and his lovely girlfriend, Sarah, hosted us this weekend. Amazing hosts. They brought us to Wingnuts. Amazing time. I didn't want to be that harsh to them. I was very low on Bar Bill. I thought you could get that wing in a bunch of different places. Like I think I could go to my local tavern around the corner and get comparable wings. And I understand that's hot. That's a hot take. I was not wowed.
I am shocked to hear that. That's never been my experience at Bar Bill, and I've sampled many of the foods around the area. Did you go? Do you know which one you went to? Did you go to the original one or the new one?
It did not look like that fancy of a location. I don't know which one I went to, if I'm being honest. I don't think it was in East Aurora. I think it was the other one. I think East Aurora is the new one, right?
Yeah, and you know if you're in the old one because that's the East Aurora is the old one, I believe. They're close enough where I might be wrong to say that, but the old one is like you can fit 30 people into that restaurant. The other one has a couple floors, I believe. So I bet it went to the new one. I'm gonna blame it on that.
Okay.
If it wasn't for you, it wasn't for you. That's one of my favorites. Elmo's is my actual favorite.
That's actually, it's funny, is that is our plan for next year when we go back. Elmo's is the next spot we're going to try out. So, all right, I figured we'd cover that really quickly. We were talking before the recording button was hit, but I do think I need to emphasize that I've actually not really loved going to football games. I think it's pretty clear that I'm fucking addicted to the sport, but I actually only try to go to like one game a year because I don't really love the in-game experience. I went to Highmark, I went to Buffalo, I watched a game, and I have a whole different opinion of going to a game now. That was such a different experience than going to MetLife. MetLife is the fucking worst. The two teams that play there are the fucking worst. Hats off to the Buffalo fans. Very drunk, very rowdy. Some very friendly, some very not friendly.
Yeah, be careful. You got to be careful with what you wear there. It can be dangerous. And I'm not going to apologize for that. We've had guests on here who might want an apology, but they can shove it where the sun don't shine. If you don't go to a Bills game, if you don't like the Bills, it's that simple. It's not like the other stadiums. It's not like that.
Oh, it's not.
You'll get hit. You'll get spit on.
Yep.
And that's what you get for showing your face somewhere where you don't belong.
Wrapping up general Bills talk from this week on beef on Weck. I'm a big fan.
It's the bomb.
Oh,
it's
so
the
good.
bomb. They used to have a deal at Bar Bill. I don't think they have it anymore, but you would get 10 wings and small beef on Weck. It was like $20-something. It was
Yeah, I got the small beef on Weck, which was not tiny. It was not tiny at all. I actually thought that was the best thing I had while I was at Bar Bill. We also got like some pizza. The fries were actually really good too, but I mean, no one's really...
everything but the wings. Why didn't you like the wings?
They were just so all right. So I like a crispy wing, and they were just very like soft. Like I don't know how else to describe. Like they didn't have like anything to them. Like the skin was just
not been my experience.
I just think I must have got a bad batch, or we were at like a bad location. I don't know what else to make of it. I'll give them another chance. I don't know what it was. And I'm not just trying to spit hot takes. I understand it's a beloved institution.
I understand.
All right, let's get into my prop here, and then we can get into our plays here. Last week I bet on our boy Brian Branch to get 5 tackles. He had 4 tackles. He got hurt. He went back into the game, got 2 more tackles. He covered the prop for us. He is very clearly one of the top 2 to 3 defensive players of this rookie draft, I would say, in my opinion. There's been a couple guys shining as well, but I think he's been really up there. Moving on to the prop this week, Sam Howell over 12.5 rushing yards. He is averaging over 20 yards a game rushing on the ground. And the Bears have been susceptible to giving up rushing yards. Russell Wilson hit 13, which would have covered. Mahomes at 28 would have covered. Baker Mayfield hit 17, would have covered. Jordan Love got 12, so a half yard short, would have covered. So I like Sam Howell here to go over 12.5 rushing yards. Not a lot to say here. Any thoughts on this?
You got some sharp bets in you, Mikey. That's sharp. That's real sharp.
I'm flattered.
I got nothing to say besides that. I like that a lot. I think that's gonna hit.
I know it's nice it's Thursday. Nothing's better than winning on Thursday, because then you can just pour that money into Sunday.
Amen, brother. You have free money. Playing with house money.
All righty. So last week we had our guests go first. So would you like to go first this week and give us your 1-point play?
Yeah, I'll go.
No, not you. I meant Jared. But no. If you want to go,
it's confusing as hell, Mikey.
I know it
What
was.
was that?
I know it was. All right, Jack. Obviously, I just confused the hell out of you, so you deserve to go. Hit us with your 1-point play.
Floor is yours.
So originally when it opened, Saints were plus 1.5, but it moved to Saints -1 against the Pats at Pats this week. So instead, I'm going to go with the point line. I'm going under 40.5 as my 1-point play. I really don't have any trust in Dennis Allen to look both ways before he crosses the street. I don't trust him as head coach. I really hate him. I miss Sean Payton, even though his year hasn't been great over in Denver. Neither of these coaches look like they're competent this year. Belichick just got blown out, so the offenses look miserable. The defenses look good. So give me the under. Feeling like a 20-17, 17-3 game.
Yeah.
And this is a game where you could see a quarterback change for New England.
Or New Orleans.
Yeah.
Both these guys. You got Derek Carr versus Mac Jones. And I've stood on the hill for Derek Carr a few times, and I can't at this point. I really can't with the product he's putting out there. I would be ready for JMO if I was a Saints fan. You also have a great defense in New Orleans versus a great defensive-minded coach in Bill Belichick. I think 2 touchdowns were scored by the Cowboys last week, so they really didn't actually let up 38 points. They let up whatever 14 less than that, 24, which is, I think, standard. It's a really good offense they're going up against, allegedly. No shame letting up 24 against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think I agree. And a lot of that game, it looked awful, but a lot of that was just Mac Jones being benchable. Mac Jones being benchable. No, and and what's cool about this is, yes, you have the Patriots losing 2 guys. Christian Gonzalez, who was one of the best defenders of the league before he got hurt, and you got Matt Judon being out as well. But they signed J.C. Jackson for a bag of peanuts, getting him back from the Chargers. There's this really great meme of like player plays good for Patriots, gets signed for a lot of money, plays bad, is cut, returns to Patriots on like a really cheap deal. So it's the classic Belichick sort of boomerang play. So he gets back J.C. Jackson. So no, I like it. I don't think there'll be a ton of scoring.
Sounds like you guys are endorsing it.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I love it a lot.
Sweet.
Jared, you want to hit us with your one play?
Yeah, I'll hit you guys. I just want to comment about our guest last week and how much of a fucking idiot he is and how he went 0-3. I feel like we need to address that, right? I don't mean to make it about last week. I don't mean to make it about me. But that guy came on here and looked like the biggest fucking moron on planet Earth, yelling about how great his team is, how well they're coached, how good Tua is, and then what the fuck happened next? Tua threw what should have been 3 interceptions that game.
Yep.
Josh Allen played a perfect game after him shit-talking him. And it was pathetic. Not only on the show, but during the game, the guy was whining the whole time. Mikey best.
Yes.
From the first quarter, blaming the refs, this guy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It wasn't even a blowout yet. It turned into one. But blaming the refs, blaming everyone except his shitty quarterback. I would rather have Mac Jones than Tua, and I think what I saw on Sunday backed that up.
Oof, that's a lot.
Manage the game. Mac Jones can manage a game. Tua barely can. And
I just feel bad for Dill because, like he always says when he comes on to the show, he's been the best better on our program as a guest. Yeah. And I think he just had a bad week. And I think the Dolphins just had a bad week. And I think it'll be interesting when both those teams match up again. I don't want to write him or the Dolphins off just yet.
I will. I'll write them both off.
Yeah. You will.
I'm praying that they re-sign Tua. I hope that would be the best thing that's ever happened to me if they sign Tua to a long deal. Give him $40 million like the Giants did. That'll work out.
You want to comment on the bees? I feel like while we're here, I think the bee storyline is very funny.
The Dolphins are from a warm place, and they were whining about the bees more than the Bills from a cold place.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't see that coming.
Shut up.
Anyway. That is the first time I've ever heard such a that's a new one. The NFL innovates each week, and the bees were the innovation this week. Always new storylines.
I've been just jerking off to sad Dolphins fans all week. I haven't done a lick of work. It's been awesome.
Dude, that one guy who was being like, the Bills actually helped us by beating us, by showing us our weaknesses so we can improve. It was like, dude, this is sad.
Unreal cope. Yeah. Soaking it in. Okay. This week, I will take the Chiefs -4 versus the Vikings as my 1-point play. I think the Chiefs are starting to get into a little bit of a groove here. I think that Patrick Mahomes played his worst game he will all season last week against an elite defense. Yep. At least to some extent, right? I mean, this team made Josh Allen, who's now the MVP betting favorite, look bad, and it made Patrick Mahomes look very pedestrian as well. And they played also against an electric Zach Wilson out of nowhere. It was like a full moon or something. So I don't really read too much into that. I do read into them getting the win with Patrick Mahomes away, on prime time with his 4th best pitch. He couldn't do anything, but he could still run the ball. That's just how good he is. That's how good the Chiefs are. The Vikings on the other side are floundering, limping, distraught.
They did not blow out Carolina last week.
They were losing.
Yeah, they were playing at best. They were playing with their food, which I don't think is an indication of a team you want to bet on.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that because I think they were getting outplayed for a little bit there. So I don't feel great about them as a team. I don't picture them turning it around against the reigning Super Bowl champions. I think the Chiefs are going to smack them around. I think Vikings might find themselves rock bottom here this week.
I can't believe I missed this one. You just said this, and I'm shocked it's not. I'm betting this one right now, because I don't want this line to move. This is rare. I usually don't bet while we're recording the show. This one's a live bet for me. So I think that says everything. I don't have anything to add to this. It's you covered it. You nailed it. Jack, you want to chime in on that one? Because I don't know what to say.
It was on my initial board, but I didn't. It didn't come into my final 3 just because if there's any reasoning to not bet it, it's a kitchen sink game for the Vikings. They're going to throw
Yeah, true.
the last ditch at home. And I mean, you can't even knock Kirk Cousins. He's having a really good year. So
Yep.
coming on, I mean, the Chiefs on a short rest, a bad defensive game against Zach Wilson. It was on my initial board, but -4 is coverable. I mean, the Chiefs are so much better than the Vikings.
If you know what's interesting here, it's a 4:25 game, so you have Kirk not at 1 p.m., which is always something.
Yeah.
It's of note.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say if you don't like that, the over is probably pretty safe because that Vikings defense is atrocious. They let up 20 catches against Keenan Allen or something crazy like that. 14 catches, and a passing touchdown.
Bottom 5 defense?
Yeah, probably. I don't have an official ranking, so that sounds right. Nothing but respect to Steve Gloss. He doesn't deserve that pain, unlike other guests we've had. But I think he's gonna feel the pain.
How's the Birdman doing? Is any life updates for me? I'm curious.
He's sad.
He's sad?
He's real sad. Yeah.
I'm dying to have him on the show at some point. I would love to have him on the show right before we play the Vikings.
It's so funny to see sad fans live in their own stadium.
Yeah.
When Kirk threw that pick.
Yeah.
I soaked that in against the Chargers. I soaked that one in.
Oh God. Because you've been there. You've been that sad fan with the bad quarterback just wanting anything.
Yeah. Just to root for anything in life. And then you got to go back to your shitty job next week.
Yep.
Not great.
My God. Speaking of shitty jobs, I'm going to read out a quote that is related to my 1 point play here. And it is Evan Neal, the tackle for the New York Giants. Why would a lion concern himself with the opinion of a sheep? The people that are commenting on my performance, what does he do? Flip hot dogs. First of all, who the fuck flips a hot dog, you moron?
Yep.
Flip hot dogs and hamburgers somewhere? How can they say that they're fans, that they're booing us, on and on? The fucking moron continues. Crazy when his PFF grade is of a bench level player, like a third string player. How the fuck do you say that?
Bad, dude. I was watching. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Giants versus Seahawks. I couldn't believe it. It was the worst blocking display I've seen maybe in my whole life. The Bills are playing them in 2 weeks. They might get 15 sacks. They're leading the league in sacks right now. They're getting Von Miller back. They might sack Daniel Jones 15 times.
And it's fucking crazy because it's like, I think objectively, if you were to look at the Giants, the by far biggest issue is their offensive line. Like, it'd be one thing if Sauce Gardner said this. I would be like, you know what, Sauce, not the right thing to say, but I can understand where you're coming from. Like, how the fuck does a giant offensive lineman be like, nah, I'm going to work. Like, I don't need to worry about what other people are saying about you. You probably should be listening, man. I got a lot of shit here I could ramble on about. The fact that their O-line is the worst graded O-line in the entire league. The Giants are dogs in the rest of their games this season. They went from playoffs, winning a playoff game, to now underdogs for the rest of the season.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad.
And I really like good teams after a loss. And you can be like, Mikey, the Giants lost big. Yeah, but they're not a good team. I said a good team. I still think the Dolphins are a good team.
So you didn't say your official pick. You're taking the Dolphins minus.
Yes, I'm taking the Dolphins minus 10.5 versus the Giants. So Dolphins lost big, Giants lost big, but the Giants suck. Dolphins are a good team. Good teams after a 20-point loss, or any team after a 20-point loss, are 54% against against the spread. Some other funny little stats here. Jones had that crazy stat a couple weeks ago that he was like the first quarterback to have such a historically bad game. He's the first quarterback to throw a 6-pick and get sacked 11 times since 1985. The Giants have played one good half of football all season, and it was the second half versus the Cardinals. If you take that one half of football out, they've been outscored 114-15.
That's tough. It's tough.
I'm just going to repeat that one more time because it sounds a little funny here. You might have missed what I said. If you take the second half of the Giants game against Cardinals and you throw it out, the rest of their season combined, they have been outscored 114-15. That is horrendous. The Giants have surrendered 113 pressures in 4 weeks. The Eagles did not let up 150 pressures all of last year. Several teams accomplished that actually last year.
Yeah, they don't have a great O-line. That's not like I'm not even trying to attack the Dolphins right now. I think they would agree. They don't have like a line where you're like, that's the standard. Like that's embarrassing.
Yep. Last week the Giants attempted the tush push, which is funny because players were coming out afterwards saying we had never practiced that before. It was just something that we had basically talked about. So they attempted it during the game. They hurt their kind of standout rookie center, John Michael Schmitz. They hurt their best blocking tight end in Daniel Bellinger. Both got hurt on the play. And my last comment on this is that you don't throw an iPad at a QB you respect and you see as a part of your future. Drake may be a giant quarterback next year. And that starts with falling 1-4 against the Dolphins.
Yeah. The Dolphins are going to eat these bad teams up. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are going to get schemed wide open, which is all Tua needs. They hit those little dinks right in the middle of the field and have them run 50 yards down the field. Dolphins, are the kind of team, kind of like the Ravens. They're going to beat up on the bad teams, and they're going to beat them bad because they're so fast. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's hard. It's hard to get that advantage in the NFL, but that team's built to have that advantage. And it's going to work against this shitty Giants team. God bless them. Hopefully Brian Dabble can come back to Buffalo somehow, because I love that guy as an OC, and I honestly do think he's a good coach. I think he chose to lay in bed with Daniel Jones, and that will kill him, because getting into the deeper stats, we don't need to talk about it on the podcast, but a lot of those sacks are on Daniel Jones missing that quick read. Yeah. Like Brian Dabble is scheming up a guy to be open in a second and a half, and Daniel Jones doesn't hit him.
And that's on him.
That's on him because he's a middle of the road quarterback at best.
Yeah. And one last thing I want to mention, just because you brought it up about like the Dolphins, is that the Giants have been criticized very specifically on their defense side of the ball this year for not tackling well. Like that's been the biggest mark against their defense. You don't tackle Tyreek Hill when you get the chance, he will score a touchdown. And that goes for almost everyone else on that offense. I mean, everyone down to, oh God, who the fuck is there? They have A-Chain, and who is their second running back that I'm forgetting right now? Mostert. Like you miss a tackle on Mostert, he's burning you for 30 yards. You miss a tackle on Waddle, he's burning you, So yeah, I think this one, it's a big spread, so that's why it's my 1 point play, but there it is. So Jack, any comments on that before you give your 2 point play?
I like it. I like their offense. What you said about the tackling is a big thing. So
appreciate it.
For my 2 point, I'm headed to London. Bills -5.5 against the Jags, who absolutely cannot score. This offense was supposed to be dangerous this year, but they've looked like really miserable. The Jags did play in London against Atlanta, I think it was last week. But they haven't really gotten rolling this season. And this Buffalo defense, you said it before, that I really like how they're playing. Like how Gregory Rousseau is playing. I really like that guy. D-line's been really good. Without Trey White, the defense has just been really stout. So -5.5 should be coverable.
Yeah, that's a little point I would like to make about this game, because I think it's such a big part of it. The whole the Jaguars have been in London and the Bills are just traveling there. When I take a trip anywhere, especially abroad, when I'm traveling abroad, after day 4, I'm exhausted. I'm like, get me back home. Is there a chance that the Jaguars are just homesick and they've been out there now basically by the time this game starts for nearly 2 weeks? I understand that their bodies might be adjusted, but they might just be miserable. I think there's a chance that team just is begging to go home, and the Bills are a little fresher than them when they arrive. They're not going to arrive that long before the game. I'm pretty sure the strategy is you arrive right before the game. You just try to hit it. Do you know when they're arriving, Jared?
They're flying out Thursday night.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday to accumulate
their body.
Yeah. That's a good point, Mike. I didn't think about that with the homesickness factor, because this is off my board because they've been there 2 weeks, and to me that felt like a crazy advantage that they would give a team like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the homesick thing it does play a factor. And the Bills, I think on a neutral field would mollywop this team. I don't think they're gonna let them. I don't think they're gonna sleep on them because they got beat by this team a couple years ago when they were bottom of the barrel. So I like it. Obviously, elite defense against a poor offense thus far. Give it to me. I will say this as well. If you like that line, I would bump it up to 10.5 because the Bills tend to blow teams out.
I like that.
I don't have the stat, but Josh Allen in his victories, they've been by more than 10 points like 65% of the time, 70% of the time, something like that.
No, it's interesting. This Jacksonville team last week, like if you look at the scoreboard, it's 7-23. It looks like a great game. 7 of those points is a pick 6 for the Jaguars. And like, I'm the type of person, and you could argue against this, I throw out things like pick 6s. I throw out things like punt returns for touchdowns because I think it's important to the wins and losses, but I think it's noise in trying to predict what's going to happen next week. And I don't think the Jaguars are good for another pick 6. So you're telling me they scored 16 points against the Falcons? Like, I don't think that's going to be enough to win against or cover against the Bills.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are kind of a bad team. So that is not what you like to see from who is supposed to be a true contender this year.
Yeah.
According to some sources. Yeah, that's a great pick. It's a great pick.
I like it too. I think the Bills are a sneaky nice spot this week, actually. I'm gonna stick to the just miserable traveling narrative there. So let's hear your 2-point play, Jared.
Yeah, you got it. I'm gonna ride the Jets 1.5 versus the Broncos here. 2-point play. I think the Broncos are a miserable team with not a lot going for them right now. Barely beat what looked to be the worst team in the NFL, Bears. The last second comeback. I think their other they just look so bad. In every clip I've seen, I'm like, this Broncos team doesn't want to be here. They let up 70 against the Dolphins. And the Jets, they got a stout defense. They, again, I think are maybe of the best defense in the league still, as long as they're playing with heart. And, I am rooting for Zach Wilson to do better. He looked good last week. I think he can keep that momentum a little bit. And he doesn't need to do too much to beat this terrible Broncos defense. Justin Fields has looked like dog shit all year, too. He put up, I don't know the exact stats. It was 35 fantasy points worth of stats.
I'll tell you, I have like a rough estimate of the stats. I think it was only like 25 rushing yards on 4 attempts, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Fields did not run all over them. He threw for over 330 yards and 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. Also to get a fumble at the end of the game.
And his completion percentage, his first like 20 throws were all like 20
wide open. People are wide open against that defense. I don't know what Patrick Surtain is doing. Maybe everyone but him sucks, but it looks like open season against that Broncos secondary. And they don't need to be special to beat them. Breece Hall, still an excellent running back. Give me the Jets. Give me the Jets here. Big.
I like it. And I was sober by the time the Jets game was on at like 8 o'clock. It was a weird day when you get drunk at like 11 a.m. and you're sober by 8 p.m. It's just, it's fucked.
Miserable.
Yeah. And then I had to wake up for a 5 a.m. flight the next day. But I didn't think Zach Wilson did anything that was like superhuman. I don't think Zach, and I think he played really well. I don't want to take away from that. I just think he played the system. He took 3 steps back. He read the offense and he threw to the open guy because that offense is designed. You take 3 steps back and you throw that ball. Someone is open or you chuck the ball away. It's a very, very like systematic thing. Like it's a very like rhythm based offense that they run there. And if you looked every time he took 3 steps, he wasn't doing happy feet. Zach Wilson's biggest issue is when he starts stepping around looking like the fucking penguin. If he's composed from the hips down, he'll play well. And he did that last week against a Chiefs defense that I think's been playing really well. That's why I bet on them last week. And I think this Broncos defense has been one of the absolute worst in the league. If he takes 3 steps and throws the ball, I think this will be an easy cover.
Yeah. That was definitely my number one honorable mention. Zach Wilson was good. I think America, especially after what Rodney Harrison said, fuck that guy. That was
Dude.
so out of pocket.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said to Chris Jones?
Yeah,
Chris
I didn't
Jones?
like that.
Yeah, it was nuts.
That was ridiculous. Like, dude, you're on TV. Be a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, so screw that. I think yeah, that Broncos. I live with a Broncos fan. It's been awesome watching the 70. It was hilarious.
Hope
Oh,
he's
that's
drunk for
good.
Yeah, they're Swiss cheese and he knows it. So
that. Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, it's
Tough.
crazy because last year I made a fortune just pounding the under with them every week.
I remember.
It's such an odd world we live in. Up is down, down is up. You know,
I wonder what
sky's
the over
red.
is for them.
I'll check right now.
At a great rate.
Yeah. Let
Maybe
me
that's a nice
see.
little group lock there. The 4-point play, the team 4-point play, Broncos lock. I'll start riding that over. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
If we just wrote the Broncos under last year and then flip it to the over. I like to have
that's
something.
That's something. It's only a 43.5 right now. So they're telling you there's not going to be a lot of ball. Honestly, the offenses looked pretty good for Denver. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, not embarrassing.
Russell
All right.
Wilson. Russell Wilson, top 5 quarterback this year right now. If you look at the stats, he's up there.
I think right now, let's come together. It's rare that we do this as well. We had a in-pod bet on the Chiefs, and we're doing a consensus, talk it out bet on the over 43.5 Jets Broncos. I love it. That's a bet the house on it kind of play. Yeah. Anything else to hit on there before we move on to my 2-point play? Cool. This is a what the fuck game. Oh no, WTF. I messed it up, so I'm gonna try again. WTF game. Texans +2 versus the Falcons. WTF stands for wrong team favored. Wrong team favored. I don't know in what world the Texans aren't -2. Because I don't think that I understand the Texans are still the Texans. You can't be giving them crazy line shits yet. But this team showed me a lot so far. And I have a quote for each game this week. I want to do a little theme of the week. Theme of the week is quotes. Talking about potentially losing to Pittsburgh, that ain't flying for me. I want them to know that we're fighting our tails off every day to make sure y'all walking around with Texans gear, feeling that pride. I take this shit really personal. It's up to us to work every day. Put that work in. He goes on and on. Put that CJ Stroud quote up against Evan Neal and just see where the trajectory of these two teams is going. Mm-hmm. One team's going up, one team's going down. I think the Lions really figured out the Falcons. You just got to force Ritter to beat you. And honestly, the bench Ritter talk is starting. You're hearing it a little bit more each week. I think after this week, if they lose and they lose pretty significantly, I think that Ritter talk's going to get very loud. Ritter, since playing the Lions, has 2 interceptions. He has a 10.3 QBR. QB rating, which is a different stat, but that's very low as well, which is a 62. He has under 200 yards in both those games. And yeah, it's not good. The Falcons, which is interesting. So we're talking about how they did some different things with the London game this year. They usually give the team that travels to London a bye week the following week. They didn't do that with the Falcons for some reason. I'm not sure. Ooh, talk about that. Yeah.
Well, we had the same thought. This is my lock.
Okay. Yeah. Chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was looking to see if there's a reason if that was the reason why the line is what it was. And there's no correlation right now between the team not getting the bye coming back and how they'll do the next week. It's like 2-2-1 against the spread straight up. The over-under is like 2-3 and 3-2, something like that. So that doesn't play into it. But please continue. I'll go after you wrap up here.
I'll tell you what, I would prefer to have the bye there. Let's see if there's anything really good here. Oh, D'Amico Ryans, a defensive coordinator turned head coach, is not going to let Bijan alone beat him. The Texans have only allowed 2 touchdowns in the last 10 quarters of football and are outscoring their opponents 77-26 in that span. I think that's really impressive. The Falcons are only averaging 15.5 points, the 4th fewest in the NFL. And I'm going to just riddle off a bunch of Stroud things here. Stroud is the only player in the NFL in his career to be averaging over over 300 yards outside of Patrick Mahomes. He's currently averaging 303 yards. Mahomes has 302 yards. Obviously, there's a sample size to be discussed there, but I think it's worth mentioning. 69% completion rate on 3rd and 4th down, which is incredible. He's also thrown for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns on those 2 downs. No interceptions. 4th most yards through the air right now in the entire NFL. And only 6 players have ever averaged 300 yards and no interceptions in the first 4 games of the season ever. And the 6 guys on that list are all Hall of Famers. I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves here, but Nico Collins, Tank Dell, John Mechie, Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz are all fine enough weapons. This offense, I think, is going to crush. I don't think they're going to win by 20 points, but I think giving them 2 points is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I really like this.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
D'Amico Ryans, new coach. I really like him. That's a big loss for San Francisco. I don't think they're hurting that much right now, though. And CJ Stroud has, I mean, after the post-draft or pre-draft, post-draft with his Wonderlic score coming out, people say he couldn't read an offense. He's silenced everyone because he looks really fluid. He looks more, I think a big knock on him was his composure, and he's looked way more composed than Bryce or any of the other rookies. So
it's so funny how these narratives come out right before the draft that like can potentially tank a player's like position, and then like half the time it's nonsense.
Yeah, he looks great.
He does. I just didn't trust him because he's an Ohio State quarterback, and that is it's the most system-friendly quarterback you could play in. Guys are screaming. Besides the Dolphins, guys are just screaming wide open in that offense. So, and they historically don't pan out, But he looks great, and it's crazy. And it's crazy that they're giving the Falcons points here. I don't know if it's because Vegas knows something we don't, or it's because people just still think the Falcons are good. But I do think the Falcons' time is up. Desmond Ridder is atrocious. He's never been good.
Yep.
And it's props to Arthur Smith for making it work as long as he did, because I sure couldn't. So yeah, Falcons here fall apart. CJ Stroud and the Texans might win that whole division. It is wide open as it's ever been.
Yep.
And they seem like they got the best quarterback play at the moment.
They already have a win over the Jaguars, who you would argue are their biggest competitors, right, in that division. So and here's the thing: behind Ridder is Heineke, who is a serviceable NFL quarterback. I mean, not a great guy. He's never going to lead you to the promised land, but I mean, got to be better than Ridder, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard the Heineke talk pick up.
Yeah, and I know every Pitts and Drake London owner in the entire world would love to see it. So with that said, it's time for the locks. Jack, let's hear it.
All right, my 3-point play, my lock is a repeat of one of last year's NFC divisional rounds matchups. I got the Niners laying the points -3.5 against Dallas. Both of these teams obviously look really dominant, really good, but I just think the Cowboys of the two teams are more like mistake prone and less likely to show up in this big game. In prime time, it's Sunday night. Obviously the Cowboys, they lost Trayvon Diggs last week, who, say what you will about his coverage, he's an elite turnover machine. He's a ball hawk. And I think Brock Purdy, if you blitz him, he's going to cook you. If you don't blitz him, he's going to cook you. This offense is another very friendly offense. So if he can just get the ball out quick enough, because obviously Mike is coming for him. What's his winning streak right now? 9-0. I think he'll get to 10. Yeah, he can't lose. So give me 3.5.
It's crazy.
When me and the boys are playing really well in Dota, our go-to line is we forgot how to lose. And I think Brock Purdy and the 49ers forgot how to lose.
Yeah. They're good, man. They're good. I like this. This is an exciting game.
Best game of the week, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Maybe best game of the year so far. I mean, the Bills-Dolphins.
The first quarter looked like it was going to be a game for the ages. It was thrilling as an independent fan just watching that. It was like amazing. And then the game later on kind of got turned into a little bit of a blowout. But I think this one lives up to the hype. I hope.
Sunday night, good spot.
I love it. I love it. That's a great pick. Yeah, I don't trust. I agree with everything you said. I don't trust the Cowboys as much as I do the 49ers to be just consistent and be, you know, to put a team away, in a close game. You know, I honestly would argue they have the better quarterback play. They definitely have the better running back. If you do it like a position by position, the 49ers are going to win that battle in most spots. So give me the 49ers. 49ers, I think, maybe the best team in football right now. It's either them or the Bills, in my opinion.
I give them number one.
Yeah. I think it's hard to argue against that.
And I'm not saying the margin's huge.
They just don't have any holes.
Yeah. You know what it is? The injury bug hasn't hit the 49ers yet. That's when they become mortal. And it's going to happen eventually. It always happens. But yeah, I mean, and a big spot, who do you want? Do you want Kyle Shanahan or do you want Mike McCarthy? I think that's what it comes down to. And I think this game's huge. I think both of these teams think they're the best two teams in the NFC, and I think they are. And I there's no way these teams can't be feeling the pressure. And I think the Cowboys succumb to the pressure consistently. And I think the 49ers, for the most part, rise to the challenge. I mean, 49ers gave the Eagles everything they had in that game when they lost in the playoffs, and they were down to their like 8th quarterback. This is a team that rises to the occasion. And the Cowboys shrink in the spotlight. So I like it. -3.5 for the Niners. Jared,
just
you're
talking
locked.
right now.
Texans, brother.
Texans. So
Go
we hit
Texans.
your 2? We obviously hit your 2-point play as well, right? We
did. Yeah, it was the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Jets.
Yes.
Are my picks for this week.
What a good slate for you this week. I like that one.
Yeah.
I think the boys got their mojo back. I think we found it.
Oh yeah. What's your lock, Mikey?
In hindsight, I wish I switched some of this stuff around, but I got another quote, and it's from Jalen Hurts, -4.5, the Eagles over the Rams. I think tension and pressure builds character. After the Eagles improved to 4-0, we needed a game like this. I think a win like this builds the spirit up of a team, because winning is not easy. Winning is hard. You got 2 new coordinators out in Philly. We knew that they were going to struggle early this season, and somehow they're still 4-0, and they're only getting better and better each week. And I want you to recall in your mind the Rams-Bengals game, if you could remember that. I believe it was like a Sunday night or a Monday night. It was a primetime game, because I think it was the only game that was on at that time. I think it was that double Thursday night game. But anyway, Stafford was just getting destroyed all left, right, and center by the pass rush. And I think that's going to happen again for the Rams, or from the Eagles. I think the Eagles are just going to be all over Stafford. And Stafford almost left last week with like a hip issue. The man is hobbled.
He loves playing hurt though.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of Roethlisberger in him, you know?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. He likes to walk around with that limp, being like, I'm the toughest guy in this fucking stadium. And it might be true, but it doesn't mean he plays better when he's hurt, you know?
Yeah, he might. I think he might. We'll find out this week. I'm not saying it's a bad bet. I like your bet. I do like what the Rams are cooking this year in general. So I haven't really bet against them yet.
Is this the spot that the Rams kind of show us the team that we thought they were?
If there was a spot, it would be now. The Eagles are just another complete team with not a lot of holes and a lot to like. So it's never a bad bet. It's the same with the Chiefs and the Eagles. Like, it's never and the 49ers. It's never a bad pick to ride like those teams. The Bills are another one. Like, like this really good team probably going to beat this inferior team. Like, that's the bet. That's a safe bet. It's a good lock. Like you said, Stafford is hobbled. I'm half joking when I say he might play better when he's hurt. But it's a good pick. Hurts is good. They're figuring it out.
Yeah, and I like the style of the Eagles game here, because they win in the trenches. So they're going to beat up Matt on the defensive side of the trench. And the offensive side of the trench, they're great at running the ball, and the Rams really can't defend that. The Rams have the 36 overall DVOA defense and 29th DVOA against the run. If you're wondering what DVOA is, it's a really advanced stat that basically says, what does the average team do in this situation? So they are the 29th average team in each specific situation that they're in defensively all year. They average out to be. You got some interesting stuff coming back, like Cup coming back in this game, but is this a situation where Stafford's brain implodes because he's been hyper focusing Puka, and now he's going to have to try to figure out how to hyper focus Cup at the same time? If Cup is not 100% and he ends up hyper focusing in on Cup, does this turn into a situation where like it's potentially like a negative? I think that's a reality. I think that's a possibility here. And what I like also is, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the Eagles and Buccaneers game, AJ Brown blew up on the sidelines and he was screaming at Jalen Hurts, pretty much give me the fucking ball.
Yeah.
Since that game, he has gotten 27 targets, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Rams have absolutely no one special in that secondary. I'm not saying they're horrible, but they're very league average guys in that secondary for the Rams. I like the AJ Brown props to hit in this game as well. If you're feeling like doing a same game parlay, I would be looking towards the Eagles to cover correlated with the AJ Brown. You know, if you want to do the anytime touchdown score, if you want to just do over receptions, over yards, I think it's all good. So it sounds like you're on board with it, Jared.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even Swift. I think Swift could have a game this game as well. Jack, what are your thoughts?
You know, as a Puka fantasy owner, my initial lean, I like Jared said, I really respect what the Rams have been able to do this year. I think everyone, I thought there was good odds on them to be the worst team in the NFL this year, and they've shut a lot of people up. But I think everything you said is also right, Mikey. The Eagles look like they still have room to improve.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think you talked me out of plus 4.5. Rams at home, but I think
but that's the thing. Have you seen the home field advantage for the Rams? It's horrible. It's the worst in the league.
Yeah, SoFi. So yeah, a lot of those. Yeah, I agree with you. And the Eagles, if it wasn't last week, they one of these games is going to be the one where they just put it on a team and look like themselves.
Yeah.
So
because realistically, this Rams team is the exact same team we thought they were coming into this year, except that Puka has really surprised people. Like, don't forget, like you said, Jack, this was a team that was like had good odds to be the worst team in the entire NFL. People were talking about, will the Rams trade away whatever pieces they have left to try to snag Caleb Williams for Sean McVay to get a new toy? Like, this is still the Rams team. I think they're playing above their weight, and I think that's really commendable, and I respect the hell out of them for doing that. But like, is this a week where they kind of just run out of gas, you know?
Yeah.
That's lit. That's our locks. I think we were pretty efficient this episode. I think we moved through everything very quickly. I think last week is a bit of a longer episode. I think we got sidetracked with a couple of side.
I don't know if we took a single underdog this week.
I took the Texans +2.
Texans. Yep. Yeah.
Texans and Jets.
Oh, and Jets.
3.
Yep.
I had a Packers -1 as an honorable mention versus the Raiders. If you want to touch on that, I think the Raiders are dog shit.
Yeah.
And you also got a Packers bounce back spot here, right? They looked pretty bad against the Lions, and I like to bet teams after a loss. So
historically, teams, I don't know if the Raiders covered, so this might be a crock of shit I'm saying right now, but teams that did not cover last week playing teams that did cover the week before, they have a very, very high, it's like 60% chance of covering during that week. That's like a very strong model to follow.
What did Arizona do last week against the 49ers?
They did not cover.
They
lost by 19. The line was 14.
But like at halftime, it was still like fairly competitive. I think honorable mention territory for me, this Arizona team against the Bengals, is that something that we're potentially interested in?
I was looking at it.
I mean,
yeah,
it's just hard to root for, like to believe in Burrow right now, and I feel bad because I really like the guy. It's just hard for me to back him right now. While we're just
they put themselves in a hole where they started Burrow when they shouldn't have.
Yep.
And they kept starting him so he didn't get better, to the point where he wasn't useful for them. And now they were 0-3, and now he's still hurt, and now you need to win your games. So now they're 1-3 because they squeaked one out.
Yep.
It's bad. They are going to find themselves in a place where they don't want to be very, very soon.
Honestly, I this might sound like crazy, and I'm not saying this to try to get a reaction out of people. I wonder if you just sit down Burrow for the rest of the year if they lose this game. Or like they have to start thinking about it. Because like it sounds like hot takey, but Achilles injuries, which he has, are like a precursor to ACL, UCL, MCL injuries. It's like one of those like stepping stone injuries. Like you don't want to. And if he tears his fucking Achilles, GG, it's fucking over, man. Like
now you have a guy that's your franchise quarterback who just paid millions of dollars, has torn his ACL and his Achilles in the past 3 years. Is it 4 or 3?
Yeah, I think this would be like going on to.
He's basically done. That's how it goes in the NFL.
I just if I'm them, I start that. Don't they have like a rookie, right? Browning. Do you know him, Jared?
I don't know him.
I don't know. If I'm them, I'm potentially trading for a quarterback and trying to like. If I'm them, I think about like trading for a quarterback like Brissett. Get some value out of Brissett. Sell Brissett high at the end of the year with this great offense that they have. Get a return of like a second or a third round pick for him somehow. I don't know. Maybe like it would have to be like a fourth or fifth round pick, but I don't know. I just want to sound off on Detroit right now. We are red hot. Yes. I don't love this game. 9.5. We're a run team with a good defense. That's kind of the identity of this team, which is crazy to say out loud. Carolina, we were as hot could be last year, and we ran into Carolina. And Jack, do you remember Ken in our basement? I'm sitting there with a gun in my mouth screaming, and Ken's like, "Can I turn on this game? Because I think you guys have recordings of Blue Bloods on your TiVo." I wanted to hit the guy. So Jared, we had
Blue Bloods.
Yeah, he's a character. He married into our family. He's honestly like a sitcom character. Like Jack, am I wrong? Like he's not from this universe.
You're on the ball.
Yeah, so anyway, he just loves his Blue Bloods. He loves like anything like NYPD semicolon any word. It's like if you put a cardboard box in a stick and you just had that running on a small screen, he would crawl into a box, like
yeah, I can picture it. Yeah. I would have strangled him to death.
Oh,
even suggesting.
Yeah.
Just a hard no, give him a hard no.
Yes, and I was like in like the house I grew up in, so like I couldn't be like this is my house because it wasn't my house. Like, no. And I was just like, Ken, we're not changing the television. We're watching this game.
Yeah.
But either way, I stay away from this game. I hope the Lions win. I expect them to win, but this feels slightly trappish to me because Carolina has played really bad. I wonder if they just match up really well against the Lions. So slight trappish game. I think the Lions win. I think it's a huge number to cover. And if they cover it, sorry, I led you guys wrong.
I believe in the Lions.
Could I ask something a little off topic?
Yeah, and I actually wanted to ask. Yeah, so you asked that, and I actually had a question for you before we end here.
So this weekend I'm headed up to Montreal for Oktoberfest. Very excited. My lederhosen actually just came in.
Beautiful.
So I'm hyped. Mikey, I know you love the city, so give me an on-air recommendation.
So DTR, I believe I think it's DTR. It's a skateboarding place. Were you there last year? Did you ever go last year when I sent you there? You gotta go, man. So it's a little dive bar on the main party street, St. Laurent Street, but it is a must, because what it is, it's just like a punk rock bar when you first walk in, and then there's these stairs, and when you're on the second floor, it's a fishbowl, which is like, if you don't know what that term is, it's like a skateboarding term, where essentially just like a bowl in the ground that skateboarders just drop into, and there's a circle of fences around it, and you sit there and you shake the fence and you try to get them to fall, and if you pay like one of the skateboarders like $5, they'll let you use your board and you can fall into the pit and break your face open if you're feeling like it. I used to skateboard a little bit as a kid, so I managed to actually get down the bowl without completely embarrassing myself. But Jack, I don't recommend it. I think mom would kill you if you broke your teeth again. Let's see, what else would I recommend? I would say go to the casino.
I'm by St. Catherine Street, if you know.
Nah, I don't know St. Catherine. I don't know the city because it's been a couple years since I've been up there. It's been like 3 or 4 years now, but I'd recommend going to the casino. It's a great time. Mom, I hope you're not listening. There's plenty of strip clubs to hit up, and I'm sure a group your age would be very into that. trying to think what else you could do in Montreal. I mean, if you're feeling like it, if you want to get like a nice dinner, and like I would recommend going to this dinner somewhat sober. But old Montreal has some of the best restaurants you're gonna find in like all of North America. And it's a really cool. They it's all like cobblestone and it's like along the water and all that. It's a very cool, like very like artsy side of town. And lastly, you had to go get like a Montreal style bagel. So just so you know, Montreal style bagels, they're like thinner and more round than the typical like New York bagel. And they don't cut it for you. They just hand you the bagel and a little tub of cream cheese. And you just rip the top off the tub and you dip the bagel in and just eat it as you go. It's different, but it's kind of cool actually. And then so that'd be all my recommendations for Montreal. What I will throw back at you is, Jack, you're in college. Me and Jared used to be in college. What's cool right now? What are the kids up to? What's the lingo? Who's the hottest artist right now?
What's the fucking
Who's Sexy Red?
Yeah, who is Sexy Red, man?
Sexy? I don't even fucking know Sexy Red. People fuck with her. She seems like ratchet as fuck, but like Drake is out here like telling her he loves her baby and shit. Like
she had a commercial with Ben Affleck for I think Dunkin' Donuts.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Sexy Red and Ben Affleck had a commercial together. I was like, I don't know who the fuck this is. I felt very old.
The way people talk about her on Twitter, it's like she's been like a cultural establishment for the last like 15 years.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like, you think we're talking about like Lil Wayne? Like, I should just know who Sexy Red is. Like, is she? I'm assuming she's an artist of some sort. I'm assuming she makes hip hop music. I don't think that's a stretch. But who knows?
To answer your question, Mikey, today I told two people, a boy and girl, and I'm planning on being Oppenheimer for Halloween, and they both like told me I was really fucking lame. So
wait, did they think it was lame because they just think it's a lame costume, or do they think it's lame because of like moral issues?
Performer.
Well, clearly the former. They were like, I haven't even seen the fucking movie. So
I was like, fucking dope.
It was awesome.
I see like one movie a year, and Rachel is always begging me to go to the movie theaters with her, and I hate going to see movies. But she was away one weekend, so I went to see Oppenheimer, and she was livid. She was like, "You wait for me to leave town, then you go to the movies." I was, it was dope. I snuck in a bunch of snacks, like way too many snacks, like a ridiculous amount of snacks. And I just sat there and vegged out. It was one of those like reclining seats movie theaters. Oh my god, it was the movie was awesome. I mean, I understand it's probably not for everyone, but like it was like top tier in my opinion. So probably one of my favorite films of all time.
Great acting,
especially in a movie theater.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's very like I don't think it would hit the same on your couch, you know.
Definitely not.
Nope.
Jay, do you have any Halloween ideas?
Me and the missus are going to be Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. I think I could rock a good Elvis. I kind of got the hair for it.
I was hoping that like she would just be like some sort of food item and it would be like Fat Elvis.
Yeah. Well, I could still be Fat Elvis with Marilyn.
Yeah.
I could be right before death.
Yeah, I think that there's some potential there if you want to do like a little bit of a last minute pivot. I think I'm going as a ghost of Twitter. So I'm just going to wear like a typical ghost thing and I'm just going to like have the Twitter logo on me.
It's very topical. I like it.
Yeah, I try to go topical and simple every year if I can. Get a chuckle out of people and do the littlest amount of effort.
You know what you can't do, and I hope no one here does it, none of our listeners do it. You can't be Ken. Everyone's going to be Ken.
Yep.
You're going to look dumb.
Yep.
There's going to be 18 of you at the same bar. So I think that's what to avoid. It'll probably be a lot of douches wearing it, have the abs out.
Yep.
Props to you for having the abs, but
don't
can't
just, I know it's going to be worse. If you're going to be Ken, be like a specific Ken. You can't just be like, oh, I'm Ken. Be like Beach Ken or some, I don't know. Give me something here.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I'll allow it if everyone in your group, if you have a big group and everyone's a different Ken.
Like, that's funny. Yeah. Like, you gotta put a little effort into it.
Like Ken, but Oppenheimer.
Now that's something.
There you go.
Jewish scientist Ken?
Yeah.
There you go. That could be something.
Gosh, sexy Oppenheimer.
Sexy Oppenheimer. See, like now we're getting some, and your girlfriend's just the bomb. She's little boy, or is it little boy or fat boy? I can't remember the name of the bomb.
Little man, fat boy.
Little man and fat boy. There you go.
That's a good group duo costume. I might just...
yeah. You and your friends just wear like all silver or like all gray, and you just put a bunch of like radioactive stickers on yourself, like tape on little piece of. That's something very offensive, but it could be something. Alrighty. I think that's all for this week. Thank you everyone for listening. And I think Jared, going forward, remind me about this. We should ask everyone until Halloween what they're gonna go as.
Yeah, I like that. Let's do that.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Wait. Tune in, cash out, bet the house, promo code SLICK. Who the fuck his name? It's Howell over 12.5 yards. Thank you everyone for listening.